Hi, class. Today we are still in Chapter 1 and we're looking at the Mound Builders. Let's take a look at what the text says. As Europeans began to settle the Ohio and Mississippi River valleys in the 1700s, they encountered a variety of earthen mounds. Some were cone-shaped hills, others were earthen walls. A few even had the shapes of animals. The most amazing of these is the Great Serpent Mound in southern Ohio, which is more than 1,300 feet long. The people who built these mysterious structures and left them were once referred to simply as mound builders. Archaeologists have identified several different mound builder cultures. The earliest of these cultures is known as the Adena, after a site in Ohio where archaeologists first studied their mounds. The Adena culture lasted from about 500 BC to AD 100. These people lived in villages of round houses built from logs and roofed with bark. Originally, hunter-gatherers from Adena people later began to farm. Their crops included gourds and sunflowers, and gourds would be like squash, pumpkin, things like that. The Adena used stone to craft both simple tools and complex objects, such as smoking pipes used in rituals. They fashioned ornaments from copper, mica, and shells, materials that they obtained through trade with distant peoples. What is known about Adena culture comes from such objects, which the Adena people placed in the burial mounds they built for their dead. Between about 200 BC and 8500, another mound-building culture called the Hopewell occupied the same region as the Adena culture. The Hopewell people were also named for a site in southern Ohio where archaeologists first studied their culture. The Hopewell people shared many features of the Adena culture. Hopewell artists created objects from copper, mica, and obsidian, a volcanic glass. Like the Adena people, the Hopewell obtained these materials through a far-flung trade network. And think back to what we learned about the people of the desert Southwest. They also traveled far distances to trade. They would get shells and other things that weren't available in their local environment. Well, the Hopewell and the Adena did the same thing. They would travel out and get materials and resources that weren't available near them. All right, let's continue on with the text. Let's take a look over here at this photograph. Actually, it's an artist rendition, I should say. It says an artist depiction of Cahokia about AD 1100. Archaeologists have been studying the Cahokia mounds since the late 1800s, but only a small part of the site has been excavated. Excavated means that they're digging out the areas where these people groups lived. They have to dig them out real carefully because they don't want to destroy or damage anything that's there because they didn't know it was there because they're digging it up. So they dig really carefully, cataloging things or writing down things as they come across them, take pictures, measurements. So they're very cautious. That's why it takes a long time. 70 of the original 120 mounds are preserved today in Illinois' Cahokia Mounds State Historic Site, which was established in 1979. Cahokia was named a World Heritage Site in 1982, meaning it deserves special protection. One of the last major American Indian groups to develop before the arrival of the Europeans was the Mississippian culture. Mississippian culture developed in the Mississippi River Valley between AD 700 and 900. Large-scale farming of corn, beans, squash, and other crops produced food surpluses. Oh, we've heard about food surpluses before, haven't we? If we think back to the Mayans and the development of their culture, let's see here if it's the same thing. This encouraged the growth of large populations in Mississippian towns and cities. Priest kings ruled Mississippian society. Each town or city controlled a group of outlying villages. High fences of sharpened logs defended these villages from attack. Warfare seems to have been frequent. Okay, so it's going to be the same type of idea where you had a king ruling the area, directing development, And with that surplus, these cultures were able to develop. They were able to develop art and religion and other things that societies have, cultures have. The greatest Mississippian city is the site known today as Cahokia, built in what is now southern Illinois. Cahokia, at its peak, was home to more than 20,000 people. That's a lot of people. A plaza for holding ceremonies was the center of a Mississippian city. Around this plaza were groups of mounds, on top of which might have been a temple or a chief's dwelling. Monk's Mound at Cahokia was 100 feet high and covered 14 acres. It was the largest pre-Columbian earthen structure in the Western Hemisphere. All right, everyone, if you have any questions, go back and reread the text and watch this video again, and I hope to see you soon.